Hello! Today is the first in a series of videos that I'll be doing under the title of Log Cabin Wisdom. I'll be doing social commentary and political commentary not only on the past but on the present and possibly what I see as far as the future is concerned. But unlike one of the most famous commentators of the past, Will Rogers, I won't be attempting to do any rope tricks while I'm commenting. He was very good at that, but I don't think that I would be very accomplished at that. Today I'm going to be looking at one thing in particular, and that is term limits. You know, I just read the other day that a congressman from Michigan, John Dingell, has been a congressman for 58 years. And he took over for his father. I think his father died in office, and he had been a congressman representing Michigan. I'm not sure if the same district, but for approximately 20 years. And Congressman Dingell's, the present Congressman Dingell's wife, who is much younger than he, is considering running. And if she does and is elected and continues in that post until she's in her early 80s, then that particular district could possibly be represented for at least 100 years by one family or two generations. Now some folks say, well, we shouldn't have term limits, and some folks say that we should. Well, I can see that each side would have a valid argument, because term limits, in one sense of the word, it keeps fresh people, maybe new ideas, younger people coming into office, and maybe they can be an improvement over the present system, which we don't have term limits, and a person can serve as long as they want to and can be reelected. But on the other hand, I see that if you don't have term limits, then possibly you can engage in what we call provincialism. You become too focused on what is good or what you consider good for your own district, and perhaps ignore what might be the overall good for the country. So term limits, there are pros and there are cons, and I don't know which is best. I do know that it's very hard to defeat a long-term incumbent. One reason is because of their name recognition. Another reason is because of the fact that they have built up a tremendous campaign war chest that they can use as far as advertisements are concerned, which is usually not available to a person trying to unseat an incumbent. Unless he's particularly wealthy himself, he'll have difficulty matching the incumbent as far as expenditures for advertisement. But some people say, and I tend to agree, the constant pull of varied interest can lead to better legislation, perhaps to better government. When you have people in office and one portion of the country, one part of the country is more concerned about one issue and another part of the country is more concerned about another issue, then the fact that they, just like the three branches of our government, the legislative, the judicial, and the executive branches, the fact that they don't always are governed or controlled by the same political party. And there may be on the court, there may be conservatives and there may be liberals or moderates. But the fact that you have different ideas and they're all vying for interest, all vying for their particular idea as to what is best, and that constant conflict can lead perhaps to better government. That's not necessarily true, but that's one of the arguments. You know, years ago, the southern part of the United States attempted to secede from the Union. And one of the reasons they did is because they didn't feel that the other parts of the country appreciated their culture and their interests, and they did not understand what they desired as far as a segment of the country. So you can have different interests, and sometimes that's good and sometimes that's not so good. But it is interesting that for many years after our Constitution was established, you did not have professional politicians. Basically, we had citizen legislators, people who would serve for a portion of the year in Congress or in the Senate, and then they would be back at their jobs, whether farming or in mercantile business or whatever, the rest of the year. But they did not make a lifetime profession of being a politician. I know for a fact my congressman has stated that he would not serve more than 12 years. Then he would return to his prior occupation. Well, he's coming up on the end of 4 years. Now, at the end of 12 years, he may decide, well, there are certain things that I want to accomplish that I haven't been able to, and he might decide to extend his time in Congress if the people vote him back in, and of course that's always a possibility too. But one thing we can always rest assured on, the vote can always determine how long a person stays in office. You may not like term limits, or you may like term limits, but the fact that we as citizens have the right to vote, we can determine for ourselves whether or not that is a good idea. As they say, you can pay your money and you can take your pick. Whatever you like, that's how you will vote. So I'm not saying term limits are necessarily good or necessarily bad, but they do have certain things to commend them as far as whether they are good or bad. But I'm just commenting more or less on the fact that term limits and the length of time that we see congressmen and senators serving can possibly be good for the country, possibly be good for their state or their district, or it may not be good for the country. But still, that's the way our system of government is set up, so that we can make those determinations as we go along. And while the Constitution does not prevent anyone from serving in the Congress for as many years as they are able to be re-elected, the Constitution still can be amended. That's one of the beauties of our Constitution. The people can decide to amend their Constitution and change that if they so desire. So again, I just ask you to, if you like this particular video, that you hit the subscribe button and be looking for a lot more videos along this line. And again, I appreciate you watching and hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.